In Mpumalanga, Premier Refilwe Mtshweni-Tsipane expressed disappointment with schools that were found to be unprepared for learners. Earlier, the Premier visited Mweli Primary School in Emalahleni to assess the school's compliance with the COVID-19 safety protocols. Our reporter Mweli Masilela is in Carolina monitoring the reopening of schools and joins us live. A very good afternoon to you, Mweli. Where exactly are you now and what is the situation looking like? Have the schools reopened today?
Good afternoon to you. I'm coming to you from Carolina at a school called Sipagamile Combined, where we are seeing that the school has not reopened because we are told that I spoke to some of the educators who are just busy behind me there. They are saying that police came here to tell them that it is not safe to open this school today, and that is why learners, the grade 12 learners, were turned away today. One reason that the school is not opening today is that there's some people who broke into the school, stealing about 5 doors in these classrooms here, and also we are told that the school doesn't have access to clean drinking water. So those are some of the challenges that Mpumalanga Premier Refilwe Mtshweni-Tsipane spoke about in the morning, saying that, well, they are aware that more than 50 schools in the province have got water challenges. That is why they couldn't open. And we know that some schools didn't open in Ganyamazana because there were some people who were protesting there, saying that they want some contracts at those schools to be given some jobs. So those are some of the things. And also in Nelspruit, we know that the Lowveld High wasn't opened as well because 2 educators there tested positive for COVID-19. But in terms of some of the challenges that the schools are facing, we spoke to the Premier earlier in the morning, and she wasn't happy with some of the schools that she visited. You can take a listen.
We must indicate our disappointment with the state in which the school is in. And equally, we want to indicate that we were aware of this situation. It has been brought to our attention as early as this year. And the processes started to unfold way back then. As we speak, we have procured about 8 mobile classrooms. They are not placed here, they are placed elsewhere because there was a land that was donated by CPA. That's where our containers are. And we must also indicate our appreciation to Inyanda Mine. They have over and above the 8 containers that we have as classrooms, they have donated another 10 containers, whilst Eskom has donated 2 containers. But we understand the situation in which we are equally facing with the CPA. We have since taken a decision working with our municipality. As you can see, the executive mayor is here with us. They have provided temporarily land that we can utilize in Clarinet. Our school are 95% ready. In terms of schooling, we've got relatively few schools that are not compliant, but then amongst those 95% of the schools that we have in province, we are aware that there are those schools that does not have water. So it's a matter that we are working on, working with the Department of Water and Sanitation. We are expecting them to finalize the installation of water within those schools. Jojo tanks are already erected in those schools. So in the absence of that, we will be working, of course, very closely as provincial government with the Department of Water and Sanitation and the Department of Education to ensure that those children are getting adequate water within the school.
Mweli, I'm wondering the means of communication here that must have taken place. If the children went to school today, clearly there was an expectation that the school was ready and that the school had received the compliance tick from all the various stakeholders. But as you said, apart from the fact that the doors were stolen, which is a last-minute occurrence, that there still is no water at that school. And I'm just wondering if you know on the ground how many of the schools that were said to be ready are actually not ready today.
Well, that is why we are moving around, because as you heard from the interview we had with the Premier earlier in the morning, she was saying that 95% of the schools are ready. But now when you go on the ground, it looks like there is quite a lot of these schools that are not ready. We know that there was an initiative aimed at trying to make sure that all these schools, especially those in rural areas, do have access to clean drinking water. But seemingly, it seems like there is a lot of these schools that are not ready. We know that the focus was mainly on rural communities, where we saw some staff from the Mpumalanga Regional Training Trust, which is an entity under the Department of Education. They were the ones responsible for constructing those drinking fountains and installing taps to ensure that the schools are ready to receive learners. But seemingly on the ground, it looks like it's a different picture. Even though in some of the schools we saw that learning started smoothly, there were no glitches, and we saw that all the learners that were in class, they had their masks on, even the educators. And we spoke to members of the school governing bodies who were also saying that, well, they are happy about today in terms of the schools that opened today. But what worries them is that they are not sure in terms of the resources that have been deployed on the ground. They are not sure if those sanitizers that have been dispatched to schools will be enough in the next coming weeks. So those are some of the questions they are raising, that if only these things will be available in a long term, then they are quite satisfied that at least learners will be safe at schools, including educators, of course.
Well, thank you so much for that update, Mweli. That's our Mweli Masilela, who's out in Mpumalanga. Clearly, from what you're seeing at the particular school where he's at, what has been communicated and the realities of what actually is on the ground seem to differ.